roof, you're getting more of the sun exposure. You look at the way that this is broken off. This is definitely wind damage. Okay, you notice here how this particular shingle is glued down, but it's torn here. See how it's ripped right through the nail?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you got this one next to it. You got to be gentle with it because you can see how they all lifted up together, and it's just ripped right through. All right. You see how it's ripped right through the nails? We call that a zipper line. Boom, 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 boom. See how they're, this is the end of the tab. That's the end of the tab, that's the end of the tab. And you got a diagonal pattern here where the wind is lifted and ripped them right through. And you see them all, how they're pulled right through. Nothing holding them. And you can see how the shingles ripped apart here. See that? That's wind damage that causes that. That's not wear and tear. See the heavy dust underneath the shingle? Shouldn't be heavy dust. Okay, only a windstorm will get a dust up 3 stories high. Okay, that's the only thing that causes that. So that's telltale wind damage signs. Now, sometimes the adjusters will look at this and they'll say, hey, that nail is just driven too deep and they drove the nail through and it's mechanical. It's the contractor error. They're not installing the shingles properly, okay? But then you notice when you've marked the roof up that the only place that the shingles are pulled through are in these diagonal patterns and everywhere else they seem to be nailed fine, okay? That's not contractor error. The shingles were installed properly. The reason is that these nail guns have a preset pressure, and the roofer has to set the pressure on their nails. So either every single roof shingle on the roof is going to be driven right through the shingles, or none of them are. You can't have it both ways because the pressure remains consistent with the nail gun. Does that make sense? So that argument makes no sense at all. And so if you get a adjuster out here that says, yeah, it looks to me like that's contractor error, that's just a bad installation. He says, well, you know, I can understand why you might think that, but the thing is that when these roofers set the pressure on their guns, it remains consistent for the whole roof. And either you'll have all of them going through the nails or none of them. And the only place I'm seeing these is in these diagonal patterns, okay? So this is all diagonal. We call that a zipper line, and they're there. But I wouldn't have known that these were ripped free unless I inspected them. See that? You can't see it. If the nails. So what I do is I get some chalk, usually one that stands out. Now this is obviously broken, but I'm going to mark them, okay? And I'm going to mark all of them in bold X's, so that when they come out, they're forced to acknowledge the damage. See how that's torn up? Okay, that's ripped. So we can go through and we can find. This roof has got damaged shingles all over, okay? Is there wear and tear here? Obviously. This is an old shingle. You got granules wearing off because of the heat of the sun, but
you never said that the insurance excluded the roof, right?
That's right, it's not excluded. We can identify legitimate wind damage. They own this roof. An old roof is a good thing, okay? And why is it a good thing? Because it's way too brittle to be replaced. So that if there's any wind damage at all, we can identify they own it. Does that make sense? See that? How it's actually separated? Really? Okay. This is not a glue problem. That right there.
There's a tear.
You got the chunk of the shingle pulled up here.
Right.
That's wind that did that.
Right.
Okay, that's the difference. They can't say, oh, that's just wear and tear. No, that's a wind event.
Separation tar from
Okay, is this an old shingle? Yes. Now, do we care that the roof is old? No. Okay, because as long as the insurance company is collecting premiums from the customer, they've agreed to insure the roof. The insurance company can't go and say, oh, this is an uninsurable roof when they're collecting money to insure the roof. They can't have it both ways. There's a legal device that insurance companies have to follow in order to deny a claim and say that it's not insurable. And that is called an amendatory endorsement. They have to have an auditor come out, look at the roof, say, this roof is beyond reasonable repair. It's too old. We're not going to insure it until you replace it, and then let us know when you've replaced it, and then we'll cover you. They have to send a letter to the homeowner stating that they're not going to insure the roof until they replaced it. If they haven't sent that magic letter
before the storm,
prior to the storm,
Okay.
They have to send them a notice beforehand that it's an uninsurable roof. Otherwise, they can't in good faith take insurance and decide they're not going to cover the building. Okay. So is it old? Yes, it's old. Admittedly so. They've got a lot of wear and tear. These vents aren't installed properly, which is really dumb. You never put vents in the middle of a building. It defeats the proper airflow and intake on a building to put vents in the middle. So you've got a roofer that's clueless, that doesn't know what he's doing, putting vents in the middle of the roof. Yeah, unless these are exhaust vents for a bathroom or something like that, okay? If that's what they're there for, fine. If they're there for ventilation to cool the roof off, they've just defeated.
You smelled that walking past that
Okay,
one.
if these are vents for airflow under the attic, then they've defeated the airflow to the top of the roof, and it ruins the whole flow. There's intake air at the bottom, and the heat rises, and it's supposed to go all.
The
It
soffit
gets
sucks
sucked
in the air and blows out.
the top of the roof, and you got them in the middle, and then all of a sudden you've defeated all of the ventilation for the top. It ruins it, and so that's not the way it's supposed to work, and you don't ever do that. These may very well be vents for bathrooms or whatever. Probably not. Probably just a roofer that's clueless, doesn't know what he's doing. And you get a lot of those guys out here. One thing about this state, in a lot of these states, is they require no specialized trade training in the professions that they're licensed to do. In this state, you just take a class, no test required, just take a class on how to do your taxes and manage a business. It has nothing to do with trade-specific training. So you got all these guys that are licensed contractors with zero training on how to do roofs, and they're self-proclaimed experts as roofers, and you see a lot of mistakes. They're using the wrong nails, they're using their underlayment as overlapped improperly, their courses aren't straight, their overlaps improper, their ridge caps are done wrong, their ventilation is done wrong. You find all sorts of mistakes because they don't know what they're doing. And the fact that we're certified installers adds some credibility that we know what we're doing. Our guys are good, you know.
So for example, like we're certified to get the highest warranty on your shingles.
Mm-hmm.
Is that anything? Is that kind of anywhere we ever touch on that, or?
Yeah, well, it's highest warranty too, but a lot of these guys, for example, heat is the enemy of composition shingles. That's the biggest weakness that these shingles have. If they get too hot, the laminates start to degrade, the glues fall apart, the granules come off, they cook, and it just ruins the shingles. And you get roofers that want to be competitive in the industry, and they'll say, okay, I'll outdo the next roofer, and rather than 2 layers of 15-pound or 30-pound felt, we'll do, or 1 layer, we'll do 2 layers, and we're way better than the next because we do 2, and they just voided the manufacturer warranty because this tar paper builds a lot of heat, and if you get too many layers underneath the shingles, it gets too hot and it cooks the shingles. They can't cool properly. Well, yeah, they do. In fact, a lot of roofers do it because it's a lot cheaper, and that's been used for hundreds of years. There's nothing wrong with tar paper. It's not as good as the synthetic, but yeah, we could use tar paper too. They have 15-pound tar paper for a reason, and that is it's designed to go with shingles. And if you're using a 30-pound, which is designed for wood shake roofs, it's too heavy, and you get waves in the tar paper, and then the shingles don't lay flat on the roof because you got this wavy, heavy tar paper that's too heavy. The other problem is it's too thick and it builds up too much heat and it cooks your shingles. So a lot of times using the wrong tar paper can void the warranty. Okay, or 2 layers of 30-pound felt, not good. That's not an advantage. Your roof will look like hell, and it will get too hot, and you get lots of problems with that. Sometimes it even voids the manufacturer's warranty. So in an effort to outdo the next guy, he just really ruined the customer's roof, and that's not a good thing. But the synthetic underlayment that we're selling is quite a bit more expensive, but it's actually a lot cooler. It doesn't build up in heat. It doesn't degrade in the heat of the sun. The weakness of the tar paper is if it gets really hot, it gets brittle, and it eventually will crack, and if the wind flaps it, it will tear, and that's your water barrier. If you got tears in your underlayment, you got a real problem. And so the underlayment is important. It is required by code for a reason, and that's to keep water from getting in the house. Really, the shingles are designed to protect the water barrier. They do provide some water resistance, but generally the water will saturate the shingles eventually and start coming through. So the tar paper is necessary. Right. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, we're looking at shingles here. You got a severe tornado. Yeah, that's a sudden wind. That's going to rip everything off, and it's going to happen in a short time, but you're getting crazy catastrophic winds, and that's where you'll get your damage. But typically it's happening over a period of multiple hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so now these insurance carriers, the date of the storm is critical. Okay, you want to look at the historical records of the wind. Okay, if they're saying 40-mile-an-hour winds and you've got an architectural shingle that's 120-mile-an-hour rated, probably not strong enough to do damage. I found that you usually need 60-mile-an-hour or stronger winds to damage an architectural or the heavier dutier shingles. Okay, these 3 tabs, a 40-mile-an-hour wind will rip those things up, and it just depends on how they're secured. If they use staples, worthless. The staples don't have enough diameter to grab on the wood, and they pull out really easily.
Right.
So you could get light winds over a sustained period of time, and it will rip up a 3-tab roof. Okay, so 3 tabs are not very strong at all. The architectural shingles, typically you don't get tabs ripped off. What you're going to get is
Chunks.
where you're going to get shingles ripped through fasteners. Okay, they call them nail pops. They pull all the way through the fastener, and the nail's left in the deck. Okay, and the nail pops are what they're looking for. You'll see a lot less crease marks in the tops of these architectural shingles because they're too rigid. So what you got is the whole shingle being pulled up and ripped through the nails, and then when the wind stops, it drops back down again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 tabs like we got up here, you got tabs missing all over because it's a lightweight material and they're more prone to tear off. It's a lot lighter, easier to rip them up. But these architectural shingles, typically you're going to get the nail pops and the zipper lines. That's what you're looking for.
Okay.
And a lot of times you can't see the wind damage on an architectural shingle. I'll tell you, the architectural shingles pay a lot better. You get a lot more money for them. Yeah, they're bigger dollar amounts. So I got a lot of guys that are driving right past them because they have no clue what they're looking for.
Right.
And so, yeah, you get one neighborhood and you could work it really well. You get paid same amount of money or quite a bit more money for the same amount of work on a big house than you do a little one. So you might as well pick the big ones.
Right.
And so you find a couple really good jobs in one neighborhood with a lot of large roofs, work the whole neighborhood, and drop names and use them as references, and that's how you win.
Right.
Okay, putting signs up. It's kind of like, I look at it like the game of Risk, where you bring your armies in and you dominate all of the little spots, and then there's no more room for anybody else to come in and take it. Yeah, you're kind of conquering your continent there. That's your continent. To own that neighborhood, and you get everybody in the neighborhood. And you find you get a lot of referrals if you do that. I did that in Meade, Washington, 300 homes, and I owned that neighborhood. There were other roofers trying to come in, but we had about 300 signs up on every. It was obnoxious. I mean, it was kind of fun. I made a joke of it to put one up on every house, but there were so many signs there from our company. The other roofer companies come in and they just get discouraged because we realize, they own this neighborhood. No one's going to get it, and no one else wanted to do it. So, yeah. My thing I've realized is that you really have to distinguish yourself from all the other companies to win. Why do they need us? What is it that they need about us that's different than the other roofing companies? Well, we have a peculiar knowledge about insurance. The other roofers, while they might be good roofing companies, they can't help them with the insurance claim because they don't understand the process. They don't understand the insurance laws. They don't get the procedure for filing supplements. They don't know how to cite the code provisions. And if they don't know how to do these things, they might be the best roofer on planet Earth, but the homeowner's going to end up paying for a lot of things that they shouldn't have to pay for. Or the claim gets totally denied because they didn't know how to document the damage before the adjuster came. Shovel up here, and it's obvious that this isn't wind damage. They're trying to scrape shit. But this is wind damage, and I can see it because these are the telltale signs. So it's your call, but I just wanted to be honest and let you know what I thought it was. And you know what? You win brownie points that way. You really do. So you got to have credibility. But when you go to sell, I never say I'm a salesman with Aspen Exteriors and I can help you. No, I'm a roofer. Okay, and if I've done other homes in the neighborhood, I say, hi, I'm the roofer. My name is David. I'm the roofer that's replaced most of your neighbors' roofs in this neighborhood. And as I was visiting your neighbor, I noticed that your roof is damaged too, and I probably can help you get a new roof like I did your neighbor. Okay? I never present myself as a salesman. I never ask for the sale. I said, well, of course they want the sale. Why wouldn't they want a new roof?
Right.
For free. Okay, free is a pretty hard price to beat. Well, of course they got to pay their deductible, but
a minimum cost. Yeah.
Yeah, I pitch it that way. A free roof is a pretty hard price to beat. You know, I'm not wanting to charge you for anything, but I'm pretty confident I can get you a brand new roof paid for just like I did your neighbors here, and we can get you taken care of. But it's got to be done the right way. If you don't have a professional roofer like me that documents it properly, your chances of getting a roof are pretty slim. You really need somebody like me to help you. And I can tell that to people, and then you have these instances where people want to, to do it themselves because they think they can pocket the cash, and you gotta, when you're presenting it, you gotta help them understand why the law won't allow that and why they can't pocket the cash without forfeiting most of their claim or without breaking the law. Okay, and so it's all about helping them understand why they need you. Why do they need you? Why are you different than everybody else? Most of these roofers have no clue how to identify wind damage. I studied it. I went to the Hague Engineering Manuals, which we should all look at together. I've looked at a lot of the scientific studies that they've done after many of these hurricanes and big storms throughout our country to identify how the wind interacts with the roofs and how these shingles are impacted. and there's a wealth of scientific knowledge there, and having that knowledge, and that makes you an expert, and then you can really be helpful to these insurance carriers. So that's what I found.
Asset to the customer and to the adjuster.
Yeah, actually, yeah, absolutely. So, and that's basically what I would say. All right, so